Now you have, there's also a torture civil suit out. I've learned about that, looking at the news. What is your position on the torture civil suit?
I'm letting the public know that regardless of how this trial goes, I've been tortured. I've been treated inhumanely.
There has to be a strong foundation put there. Y'all now have the discipline. I'll tell you something, a lot of you men who was in the community for years, under what I was teaching you, under the lifestyle that you had to live. You say, I don't know why I gotta live like this. I don't know why I gotta put up with this. There has to be a strong foundation put there. Y'all now have the discipline. I'll tell you something, a lot of you men who was in the community for years, under what I was teaching you, under the lifestyle that you had to live. You say, I don't know why I gotta live like this. I don't know why I gotta put up with this. You can stand anything now. Any pressure they put you under, you go work with somebody else and the people working with you want to get you fired. They say, that nigga don't know when he don't stop and take breaks. He don't smoke. He ain't drinking no sodas. Get right? Y'all can outwork any group of people on the planet right now. Because I was building an imaginary pyramid. I was saying sleep on the floor. There's rats in there, so. I was saying sleep on the floor. There's rats in there, so. So what's wrong with rats? They might bite you, then don't get bit. There's always somebody that gets bit. Why it gotta be you? There's no heat, so. There's too much heat, so. I subjected y'all to everything that you can go through to make you ready to stand whatever comes against us. Because I don't need, can I speak here? I don't need the bitching men. I really don't need the bitching men. Because the devil is going to make up his mind to come after us one day. It's written in the law. He's going to try to climb Mount Zion to destroy us, the Holy Tabernacle. You understand? And I don't need men that are going to break down like little girls. I made brothers walk the streets and pedal, but anybody who knows the beginning know I walk the streets and pedals. They'll tell you I used to walk them to death. Anybody talk to any old timer, they say that guy is nuts. He'd walk us I'd walk them from Coney Island to the Bronx. I'm not exaggerating. Every day. And on the way back, I'd stop off at a kosher restaurant and say, we're going to split this bowl of pea soup. Is that true? And take all the money and give it to the sisters. Say, later, and we left the sisters there with the money and we took off again. And we walked again. From Brook from Coney Island to Staten Island to Far Rockaway, out to Hempstead, and all the way back. And on the way back, we stop, and they say, "Can we get something to eat?" I say, "Yeah, we'll get a little soup and a little extra." The man, they be like, "Yeah." I say, "Give me a little coleslaw, please." And they say,
I've learned about that, looking at the news. What is your position on the torture civil suit?
I'm letting the public know that regardless of how this trial goes, I've been tortured. I've been treated inhumanely. I filed it with the Hague. I filed it with the international community in Geneva. It's on record there. It's on file with an organization called the NGO, which means non. So I'm an honorary member. My number is RN900. Right, the organization is the same as the International League for Human Rights. People, we have people there working. The paper documents have already been filed. There's a bunch of other things that are going on that the people in this case, the judge and his clan of friends don't have no idea is going on with the international community.
So now what we're going to do is just look at what Dr. York has said about the United Nations in the past in a couple of books. And so we're going to start with the year 2000 AD, scroll number 156. And we're going to go into that and see what he says about the United Nations. So here it reads, taken to formulate a permanent organization occurred in 1944 AD, but it wasn't until June 26, 1945 AD in San Francisco that the final charter was signed. It is no coincidence that day happens to be the exact date of my birth. The Luciferians was aware, as he has always been throughout time, that a special person will be born. 51 countries signed the charter and became members of these countries, representing all parts of the world. They said the original members of the United Nations were Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Belarusian, SSR, Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Czechoslovakia, Denmark, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Egypt, El Salvador, Ethiopia, France, Greece, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, India, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Liberia, Luxembourg, Mexico, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Nicaragua, Norway, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, the Philippines, Poland, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Syria, Turkey, Ukraine, USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, United Kingdom, United States, Uruguay, Venezuela, and Yugoslavia. The first article of the charter outlined the purposes of the organization, declaring that the primary objective of the United Nations is the maintenance of international peace and security. The organization is also dedicated to the development of friendly relations among nations based on the principle of equal rights and self-determination of the peoples, to the achievement of international cooperation in solving international economical, social, cultural, or humanitarian problems, and to serving as a center for harmonizing the actions of nations in the attainment of these common ends. The organization itself is broken up into 6 major departments: the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, the Trusteeship Council, the International Court of Justice, and the Secretariat. This is the famous landmarks of the League of Nations, United Nations countries sitting in the seat of the harlot of New York. The beginning of the United Nations can be seen in the formation of its predecessor, the League of Nations. This organization was virtually the brainchild of the President of the United States, Thomas Woodrow Wilson. When World War I ended in 1918 AD, there was still much decision making to be done. Woodrow Wilson drew up a set of ideas which became termed Wilson's 14 points. The 14th point provided for a General Association of Nations. The recommendation gave rise to the League of Nations. The League was to be free association of nations. Its chief aim was to prevent war. However, the idea of the United States joining such an organization was not warmly accepted by Americans. Therefore, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee refused to give its approval. Former President Woodrow Wilson could not understand why he was able to obtain enough votes to ratify it in the Senate, especially since the League of Nations was really an issue being pushed by the Illuminati. By way of the League of Nations, the Illuminati proposed to rule the world. Though at first the thought of a combined nation effort was abandoned, the same ideas which prompted the League of Nations resurfaced later at the conception of the United Nations. Just like the League of Nations, the United Nations was set up after the world had been involved in a major war. You got a picture of the United Nations headquarters located along the East River, New York, New York. According to the book entitled Illuminati 666 by William Josiah Sutton on page 244, it says, back in the days of Wilson, the headquarters for international New World Order was the League of Nations. Today, this masterpiece of deception is called the United Nations. Men of the same nations that were duped by their leaders into joining the League of Nations were duped again into joining the United Nations. In an article published by American Survival Guide dated June 1992 AD, it stated that the United Nations considered itself as the anchor for the New World Order. George Bush explained the real purpose of war and agreed that war is the best way to maintain government control. This order is to eliminate national supremacy and put itself in a place of a world government, a world police force, world courts, world banking, and place of a world government, world currency, and an elite government in charge of it all. All religions will be abolished. Government will eliminate money and distribute new credit cards called AmeriCards, each containing the owner's hand and retina prints to ensure foolproof identification. This new world order will go as far as to get rid of the present Constitution. In fact, it was the Illuminati who promoted Woodrow Wilson as the 28th President of the United States. He served 2 consecutive terms from March 4th, 1913 AD to March 4th, 1921 AD. It was while Woodrow Wilson was in office that the Illuminati were able to pass the Federal Reserve Act, a bill which would create a central bank called the Federal Reserve System, which is a company because it is incorporated. It is a private corporation. The Jews owe part of their success in achieving land in Palestine to President Wilson. There's a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so perversive that they better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. All right, so we moving from that to the next book. But as we can see here, according to what York was saying in this book, this is basically the United Nations is a front for the Illuminati. All right, let's keep going. So we're gonna go into the book of Revelation, a book he put out in '96. And it says the Statue of Liberty is the harlot Babylon spoken of in Revelation chapter 15. New York was chosen as the seat because it is the site of not only the Statue of Liberty but also the United Nations, the World Trade Center, the Empire State Building, and Wall Street. New York is the new city of England. France gave the United States the Statue of Liberty to represent the beast, which rules a multitude of people. Funds were raised once again in 1986 AD to restore the Statue of Liberty. Donations poured in from all over the world. The devil has determined to maintain his symbol of dominance and harlotry. Now, so according to just these 2 books, and I got other books, but I just wanted to bring this point out. So according to York, the United Nations is not a good thing, right? So now that we we established that. Now let's deal with the other side of the coin. Since York said this place was all put together, in some books he said the United Nations is nothing but the sons of Canaan that he talked about in the book of Genesis, that they all descendants of the Caucasian, which descended from Canaan, came together and created a new United Nations. For those who remember and got that book, you know I'm telling the truth. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go to where York had said when he was in court. They said during the hearing of June 30th, I'm on matter of fact, I'm on this site. Alright, they said, asking the Wipers if Malachi York was a Liberian diplomat, why did he make the declaration when given an opportunity in court? Alright, so you can go to thewipenism.com and see this for yourself. So we're going to just scroll down where it says, York spoke before a judge regarding his guilty plea in federal court and whether or not he wanted to reject his guilty plea. York stood and declared himself to be sovereign and an Indian who should be turned over to his tribe. Nothing about Liberia or any other country in Africa. This is what he said, with all due respect to your court and your government, I'm sovereign. I'm a Native American. I'm indigenous. I'm on record as 2/15/1993. We're recognized with the United Nations as a sovereign nation. I'm supposed to be put into custody of my tribe, your Master Native American Creek Cherokee Court Counsel, Malachi York, June 3rd, 2003 hearing. And this is the paperwork when he was in court saying that. So the thing is, this is 2003, right? That York said this, but he said in the 90s, and then those who got the older Leviathan books in the 80s, and I think he put one out in 79, that the United Nations, the Illuminati. So why is he talking about y'all recognized by the United Nations? Because now we know that the United Nations is the Illuminati. So he basically saying he recognized by the Illuminati. Because we got plenty of information from other sources that does prove that to be true. So if he's supposed to be sent to teach and break the spell and all that, why are you going to them, the beast as he called them, for recognition? This is what we're talking about. This is why I asked, that's why I titled the video, was Dr. York against the United Nations, or was he a part of it? Because anybody in their right mind who knows that the United Nations is not where you're going to go to get no type of help. And I've been providing explicit information that you can find on the net that shows that these people is trying to kill folks. And they pushing homosexuality and pedophilia and all the other stuff that they doing. That's a fact. Now, we know that's true. We know that York was involved with the Masons. He was in a couple of orders. Excuse me. He was in a couple of orders. We've been seeing all types of foolery going on over the years. All right, so we're gonna continue on what we was talking about. Now we have to check what York says, because he's a serious liar. And so remember, he said it was on record with the United Nations 215 number 1993. So when you type in United Nations 215 1993, this comes up, the affidavit of nationality. When you click on it, it tells you it's the Declaration of Nationality for Certificate of Non-Citizen, Non-Residential Status, pursuant to UN 215/1993, and that's an NIS 21593. And it's a person who says, I, Dawn Marie Nix L, do hereby and herewith declare that I am a national of what? The Empire Washington D. dug the Hamundaya Moors via its nation-state unified Washita. This is the Washita, and they are on record. Not York now. And York now, what he did was it was an empress that owned a bunch of land, and they got recognized by the United Nations. York never got recognized by the United Nations. And also what York did was, let me go into this, where is that? Her name was the Empress. It started with a V. I can't remember how to pronounce her name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. And York had some information. He had two. Her name was Vidiriachi, something like that. And I'm trying to find that book. The Set the Record Straight. Yeah, Set the Record Straight that York had put out, and from what I was told by a credible source, that York sent two females to help the Empress help her do some things and stuff around her land, and she sent those sisters with a bunch of paperwork and things to the mail for her. And they took that information and brought it to York, and York used that to put this book together. I think he used another book that came before Columbus. It's a couple other books, but you know, York is a thief and a liar. So a lot of this information, you can, for those who know, will verify that. So again, York acted like the UN was so horrible, but yet he claimed that they was recognized. It's not true. Just do the research. That's all you got to do. Type in United Nations 215/1993, and this is the Washita stuff. This day stuff. York never was recognized. There's no Yamasi. So again, right along with the Illuminati and these secret organizations, they tell lies, and you always got to check their stories. Always something behind something behind something. But we already proven that York say one thing and do another. All right. So with that in mind, and since we know that, let's look at this picture right here. This is Dusa, his main figure behind the trigger, the one whose real name is Damon Pryor, who legally changed his name to Dusa York. He's not kin to York no more than I am. But look at this fool right here. If this picture is even true, why are you at the United Nations saying that the Wiping is the real nationality, when according to York, y'all was at the United Nations being recognized as Yamasi. You know, Wiping is not there when you look at the fake paperwork that York got. It says the Yamasi of the Creek Nation. Even though York used the United Nawapian Nation of Moors, that's not what he said that's on the ticket. And we done found out by checking that they not even on that ticket, because that belonged to the Washita. York is no kin to them. He not on record. And so again, this is the type of stuff that they do. You can't trust nothing they say. So it's clear from the evidence that was brought tonight that York is definitely working with them, and you can see it with the evidence. The evidence is too clear. It's too clear that York is right along with Agenda 21, and the fact that the United Nations came together in 1992 to do what they had to do to set this thing in motion. York came down to Georgia in 93 and then started more foolishness and said that the Anunnaki was going to come and be by 2002 and trying to abduct the Wapians from 2002 or 2003 all the way up to 2030, and they gonna dip about the solar system by 2045, never to return. Contradiction, because you said that if they supposed to be abducting you and bringing you back 1,000 years as a day, how can y'all leave the solar system never to return? That's a contradiction. But we know that 2030 is nothing on historical record that will give York that number, because there's nothing written about no 2030. York used that because that's the agenda of the United Nations. That's exactly why that number was given 2030, because you can't use no other book to say such a thing. And we seeing the evidence by using sound right reason and looking at everything that's surrounding it, and the fact that the Wapians have now turned into, which they've been a tool for the United Nations by extension of York. And the fact that York started pushing this hermaphrodite homosexual agenda around 2012. So you can switch that around, that's still 21. But this is the type of foolery that y'all are dealing with. And this is why y'all already done failed. It's cracking down. And again, y'all talk bad about the Caucasians so bad. But look at y'all. Y'all are actually tools of the very people y'all claim were the devils and all this other stuff. But look at you now. All y'all is being used spiritually and physically. And you can't take back none of the things y'all said. The books is out there. The videos is out there. It is over. So the only thing you could do now is try to figure out. And also, when I drop the videos, I'm going to drop another video after this. You need to be asking yourself, why y'all not talking about what these people are doing? Y'all sitting around here talking about fairy tales. This is what part of deception works. That's how